Good morning. So today I will be discussing the topic cleanliness and hygiene. So let's start. So what are the benefits of personal hygiene? First and foremost, the benefits of this hygiene or personal hygiene to our patient is to help them to promote both physical, only physical but also emotional health. Okay, if you're always cleaning the patient, providing them care and hygiene, they will feel more relaxed, they will feel uh, well. So helps also to minimize the risk of infection. So all of this stuff, we are doing this just to prevent the patient from harboring infection. Okay, because in the hospital there are a lot of infection there. So we want them to prevent those infections or minimize those infections. So the first hygienic care that we are going to discuss is oral hygiene. So oral hygiene, it includes the care of your teeth, gums, tongue, lips, and soft parts of inside of the mouth, such as cheeks and the roof of the mouth. Okay, what are the purposes of the oral care? First is it will prevent mouth odors and infections. It will increase comfort. It will make food taste better, and it will reduces the risk for cavities like dental caries and periodontal disease. So, without this oral care, your patient will have halitosis. Okay, what is halitosis? Haletosis. It means bad breath. Okay, when you are hospitalized for a long time and you're not doing oral care, what happen is the bacteria be will live on your mouth. So if you're not cleaning your mouth, the possibility of periodontal diseases and dental caries is uh, big because it will increase and it will make your patient's mouth and also the taste will be affected. So guys, during our demonstration, we'll be doing two types of oral care. First is oral care for independent patient, those patients who can do it by themselves, but we will just instruct them, and oral care for those patients or dependent patients or those patients who is unconscious. Okay, those patients who cannot do on their own. So, what are the things we need? We have the toothbrush with soft bristles. We have the toothpaste, mouthwash, dental floss, water cup, straw, kidney basin, hand towel, paper towels, and gloves. Okay? So, always remember if we are providing oral care to our unconscious patients, for unconscious patients, we need to take note of the word aspiration. What do we mean by aspiration? So, aspiration is breathing of fluid, food, vomitus, or an object into the lungs. When your patient is unconscious, okay, the swallowing reflex or the gag reflex is not present. So, what is gag reflex? If you place your finger, okay, behind your tongue, or what will happen is you will gag, okay, or you will vomit. For those patient who is unconscious, like those patient who is stroke, a problem with brain problem, what they are having is they lost their gag reflex, so they have a big risk for aspiration. And as nursing assistant, we want to prevent this problem, so not to further the condition of the patient. So, to prevent the aspiration, we need to position the patient into side lying position or lateral position. Okay, why? So, the secretions, the saliva will drain on the side of the patient, not going inside the lungs. So to prevent aspiration, I will repeat, you need to position the patient into lateral position. Use only a small amount of fluid to clean the mouth. Okay? What we are using for unconscious patient is we are using the syringe. So we can control the administration of fluid in the patient's mouth. Okay, we are not using the cup itself because we cannot control the amount of fluid. Do not insert dentures. Dentures are not worn when the person is unconscious. Okay, as you will notice, if you are admitting a patient in the emergency or in the hospital, the emergency staff will always ask you if the patient is having dentures, because dentures can can be a thing that can block on the airway of the patient. So you need to remove that dentures to prevent the blockage of the airway. So mouth care for unconscious person, we have the cleaning agent, we have the sponge swabs, the padded tongue blade, the water cup with cool water, the hand towel, the kidney basin, the lip lubricant, and the paper towels and the gloves. Okay? Kidney basin, we are putting the basin, it's like a basin, a small basin we are putting on the side of the mouth, because those patient who is unconscious, they cannot control the saliva, it will drain continuously, so you need to put a kidney basin. Okay, so all of this oral care for dependent and independent patient, okay, I sent it to you through video and I will demonstrate it to you in our face-to-face class. Next, let's go with denture care. So dentures, these are artificial teeth, okay? Replace natural teeth lost because of health condition or injury. Dentures are very important for those patients who don't have teeth. Why? So they can chew, they can eat, or they can eat what they want to eat. Okay, especially those foods who are that is hard. And what else? Denture care, it is important for maintenance of removal of artificial teeth. Okay, so this denture care is very important because these are their teeth. So you will expect that this artificial teeth have plaques, have foods. So you need to clean them like the way you are cleaning your teeth. So what are the purpose of denture care? It helps prevent conditions such as plaque. Okay? So imagine your patient, if there are many plaques in the dentures, the patient will not feel good. So what are the things we need for denture care? We have the denture brush or the toothbrush itself. We have the denture cup labeled with person's name and room. So this is very important. The denture cup, it is very important with name of the patient, because in the hospital, maybe they will exchange the dentures and it's disgusting. So you need to label it with person's name. We don't know. They might exchange. So soft bristle toothbrush or sponge swabs also. You have the toothpaste, the water cup with cool water, you have the straw, you have the mouthwash, the kidney basin, the two hand towels, the gauze, squares, paper towels, and gloves. So providing denture care is shown in the video I sent yesterday night. Okay, so please watch the video and I will be demonstrating it as well on our face-to-face class. Okay, next. So Hair care or hair shampooing. So hair shampooing, it is a cosmetic act of keeping your hair clean by washing it with shampoo or other detergent products and water. Hair conditioner may also be used to improve hair textures and manageability. So if your patient is admitted for a long time, hospitalized for a long time, you expect that the hair is tangled, there are infestations or infections. So to prevent this to happen, we need to do hair care or hair shampooing. And uh it will help the patient feel more relaxed and comfortable. So what are the purposes of doing this stuff? First is it will provide comfort to your patient. Of course, any if you are doing this to yourself, of course, if you are doing this to your patient, also, they will feel comfortable. To remove tangles from the hair, okay, to preserve or keep the hair in good condition during illness, to observe the presence of lice, these are the infestations, without the patients being aware of it. You know, we have a lot of patients having infestations. They don't know it. They don't feel it because what happened? This lice or this infestations, they are injecting like anes- anesthetic agents or anesthesia to the patient's head, so the patient will not feel it that they are there. The patient will not be aware of it. Okay, so as a nursing assistant, we need to take care of physical, not only the emotional, but also all of the physical aspect of the patient. So we should be and have an assessing eye to prevent infection, of course, in preparation for diagnostic procedures. If you're having patient who will have electroconvulsive therapy, what is electroconvulsive therapy? Those management for patient who is having schizophrenia or psychiatric diseases. Okay, so to make their brain cells return to its normal functioning, they will electrify the head of the patient. And the preparation, one of the preparation is you need to do hair shampooing. Okay. Also, if you are if the patient will be conducting a sleep study, okay, sleep study to check if there is a sleep apnea or any sleep problems or sleep disturbances, what are the preparation needed? You need to do also hair care. So these are the purposes of hair care. So what are the things we need to what what are the things we need to use? First is two bath towels. We need to have washcloth, shampoo, hair conditioner, bath thermometer, pitcher, shampoo tray, basin, pan, waterproof pad, gloves, comb, and brush hair dryer. Okay, so shampooing patient's hair, it will be shown in the video I sent you. So next procedure is bathing. Okay, bathing cleans the skin. It also cleans the mucous membranes of the genitals and anals. Okay, this procedure is quite long. So in our demonstration, okay, we need to maximize our time so we can finish everyone. So, what are the purposes of bathing? First is it will help a person feel relaxed and refreshed. Okay. Then it will clean the skin and eliminate body odors. If your patient is staying in the hospital for a long time, okay, the patient will have body odors. To prevent this and to eliminate this, we need to give them bath. Okay. In our hospital, what our protocol is, we are giving bath every day, every afternoon. We are not giving bath in the morning because there are a lot of things to do, like doctor's rounds and procedures, follow up. So we are doing the bathing in the afternoon shift and night shift. So it will be every day. Exercises muscles that might otherwise not be used. So if you're doing uh, bed bath or bathing, what we are doing, we are also exercising the muscles or the limbs, okay? Because we are holding it and we can exercise them. So stimulate blood flow to the skin. If we are wiping the limb of our patient, we are stimulating the blood flow. Okay, what is the best way to stimulate the blood flow of the patient? If we are wiping the limbs, what we are going to do to stimulate the blood flow is we need to start from distal to proximal. Okay, so the blood flow will go back to the heart, and it is a good way to stimulate your blood flow. Okay, you can stimulate also your blood flow through massaging. So we will be doing massaging or back care in our demonstration. It will also help the patient or resident meets the needs of love and belongingness and self-esteem. If you're giving care to someone, of course, they will feel that they are loved. If you are giving care to someone, they will feel that they are valuable. So, giving bath to your patient will help them to increase their morale, will meet their needs of belongingness and love. Give the nursing assistant an opportunity to observe for skin problems and to communicate and bond with the patient or resident. Okay, this is the best way. So you can have bonding with your patient because one on one you are doing the procedure, so you can communicate with them, ask them what are use the therapeutic skills that you learn, observe any other problems like skin problems. If you're doing bathing, you can see if there are developing bed sores in your patient. Okay, so you can assess everything in the patient's body because you're bathing the patient's body. So, what are the guidelines we need to remember in doing bathing? First, we should have a doctor's order, or we should follow the doctor's order or nursing care plan when determining what type of bath the person is to receive. Next, before beginning the bath, you should explain thoroughly the procedure so the patient can cooperate with you. Next is you need to collect all of the necessary equipment so you can save your time. Close all the doors and windows to prevent what? Hypothermia. Okay, and also to provide privacy. You should place also the non-skid mat in a bathtub. If you're doing a tub uh, tub bath for your patient, you need to put a non-skid mat, okay, on the shower floor. Why? To prevent fall of your patient. Because what will happen is it will be slippery. So you need to put a shower or a non-skid mat on the shower floor. Encourage the person to use a handrails. All of the shower uh, shower rooms in the hospital, they have handrails. So to help the patient to support themselves and to prevent fall. Provide a shower chair for person who are weak and unsteady. Okay, you need to assess your patient. If your patient is unsteady and unable to stand for a long time, to have shower, you need to provide a shower chair or a commode chair to prevent fall. Never lock the bathroom door, okay? You tell your patient it's not allowed to lock the bathroom door because anything happened to you, I cannot access inside if you lock it. Always check the temperature of the water using the bath thermometer. Usually, the water temperature should be between 40.50 degrees Celsius or 46.1 degrees Celsius. When assisting a person to and from the tub room, always make sure that he or she is adequately covered. That's why we are always using the bath blanket. Always help the person into and out of bathtub or shower. Okay, don't allow your person go to from bathroom to bed alone, especially those weak person and unsteady person, because they might fall. Follow all the standard precautions when bathing a person. For example, if your patient is having a contact precaution like MRSA positive or C. difficile positive, those infections are not allowed to go to a shower room, which is for normal person. They have a separate room, so they need to go there. You need to instruct them that you need to go for shower in this room to prevent infection or cross contamination. Always remember the principle, you need to wash from cleanest to dirtiest. Okay, I will repeat. You need to wash from cleanest to dirtiest. For example, first, you need to wash the eyes before your vagina. You need to wash the vagina before your anus. Why? Because what is the cleanest? You need to wash them first to prevent the cross contamination. Imagine if you wash first the anus, then you wash your eyes. Okay, what will happen? The microorganism in the anus will come to your eyes. Next, touch the person's body gently yet deliberately using a long, firm stroke. What do you mean by long, firm stroke? Like this. Okay? Why? So it will encourage or it will stimulate good blood circulation. You need to rinse the skin thoroughly to remove the soap. Most of us, if we are rushing, what will happen? Okay, we are not removing all the soap. So what will happen in the patient's skin? It will be dry, it will be slippery, and it will cause more uh it will cause also infections. Then gently pat the skin dry. Do not rub vigorously. Why do not rub vigorously? Because it will create friction that will further develop to skin irritation. If your patient is febrile and you rub her vigorously, what will happen? You are creating more heat. You are creating more friction. So you are giving more heat to the patient. So the fever will not subside. So you need to pat the skin gently. So we have different types of bath. We have the complete bath. Okay. So complete bath means you will wash the entire body. Okay. In the bed. It is given to the person who cannot bath themselves. Okay. It is given to the patient who cannot bath themselves. Okay. Mind you, there are patients who want to bath themselves in the bed, but they can bath themselves. So you tell them that it's not allowed to bath themselves in the bed because they are able to do so. So you tell them, I will send you to washroom, I will assist you, but it's not allowed in the bed. Are usually needed by persons who are unconscious. Okay, so these are the indications: unconscious, paralyzed, in cast. Okay, what are cast? Those plasters for fractures. Or traction. Okay, those immobilizer for fracture. Weak from illness or surgery. So these are the indication of giving complete bed bath. So what are the things we need? We need to have wash basin. We need to have soap, bath thermometer, rangewood stick or nail file, washcloth, two bath towels. You need to have two bath towels. Why? Because you need to use the one sorry, you need to have two hand towels because you need one for washing, like soap and water, and rinsing. And you need to have bath towels because you need one for cover and you need for drying. bath blanket, clothing or sleepwear, lotion, powder, deodorant, brush and comb, other grooming items are requested as per request, paper towels, and gloves. Okay, so these are the bed bath sequence. I made a sequence for you to uh, understand more. So, first, in the sequence of bed bathing, you need to wash first or clean first the facial area. Okay? So in the facial area, you need to clean first the eyes. Okay? In cleaning the eyes, you need to start from inner to outer. Okay? What do you mean by inner to outer? So this is inner and this is outer. This is medial, this is lateral. Okay? So why? Because this is cleaning from cleanest to dirtiest. You know that we have a hole here. There are this is lacrimal glands. So if we clean from outer to inner and there is dirt, what will happen? The dirt will go inside your lacrimal gland and you will have infection of lacrimal gland. So to prevent this, you need to clean it from cleanest to dirtiest or inner to outer with separate section of cloth. Okay, don't clean it with the same section of cloth, but you clean it with separate section of the cloth. Next, you need to clean the face, the neck, and the ears, and after that you can do shaving. Okay, shaving. Okay, let's go with shaving. So, what are the rules in shaving a patient? We will encounter patient who is male patient or female patient. Male patient, they want to shave their beard. Okay, so what are the things we need to remember? First, in the hospital, we're not using the disposable shaver. We are using the electric shaver because it is more safe than those disposable shaver because it will prevent more bleeding. So use electric shaver for persons taking anticoagulant, especially those patients who is taking anticoagulant. What is anticoagulant? Like aspirin, uh, silostazole, okay, those patients who have clot on their heart, they are using anticoagulant. So they are using electric shavers to prevent bleeding because the side effect of anticoagulant is bleeding. Okay, so they need to use the electric shaver because electric shaver will prevent them from bleeding. Protect bed linens. Place a towel under the part being shaved, okay, or place a towel across the patient's chest. Then soften the skin before applying. You can apply a warm, moist towel on the patient's uh, patient's face in a few for a few minutes. Okay, so to soften the skin. Then encourage the person to do as much as safely as possible. Okay, hold the skin taut as needed. Okay, so straighten the skin so you can shave it well. Then shave in a correct direction. What are the direction? Okay, shaving the face with safety razor, shave in the direction of the hair growth. If the hair growth is going here, so you need to shave in the direction of the hair growth. Okay, you need to shave in the direction of the hair growth. So if your patient is female, okay, for example, there's operation of the legs, and your patient is female, or there are operation of the head because the patient will have cranioplasty. Okay, you need to shave also because one preparation before operation or pre-op is you need to shave the part that is being operated. Okay, so you need also to follow this direction. You need to shave towards the direction of hair growth. This is towards the direction of hair growth, not against. Other books, they are telling against the direction of hair growth, but we need to standardize our knowledge. So it should be towards the hair growth. What if the patient bleeds? The patient have cuts and nicks, okay? So what you need to do is to put something like gauze or a clean towel and press it for 10 seconds. Then rinse the body part thoroughly, apply direct pressure in a nicks or cuts. Okay, what are the things we need to use for shaving? We need to use wash basin, bath towel, hand towel, washcloth, safety razor, mirror, shaving cream, lotion or soap, shaving brush, aftershave or lotion, tissues, water towels, paper towels, and gloves. Okay, shaving is in our videos. Please watch the shaving person's face with safety razor and electric razor. So let's go back to the sequence. So we finished the face. Now let's go down. So next part to clean is your arms. Okay, as I've told you, to stimulate blood circulation, we need to use or we need to wash from distal to proximal. So guys, I forgot, you need to remember wash, rinse, and dry. Okay, so if you wash the eyes, face, ears, okay, you need to wash, rinse, and dry. What do you mean by that? Wash by using soap and water, rinse by using water, and always dry. Okay, with the exception in the eyes, we are not putting soap in the eyes. Okay, I'll repeat, with the exception in the eyes, because we are not putting soap in the eyes because it will irritate the eyes. So, wash, rinse, and dry. So, let's go back to the arms. So, let's clean from distal to proximal with wash, rinse, and dry. Wash, then rinse, and then you dry it. Okay? So, you cut the hands or the arms into three parts. You clean from hand to elbow, elbow to shoulder, and then shoulder to armpit. Okay? In that way, you have organization on how you are cleaning this part. Okay? So, you cut from hands to elbow, elbow to shoulder, and shoulder to armpit. And after that, you can do nail care. Okay, nail care. Let's go with nail care. Okay, nail care and foot care. So, nail care and foot care, it involves soaking to soften cuticles and layers of horny cells, thorough cleaning, drying, and proper nail trimming. Okay, guys, patients with DM or diabetes mellitus, we are not soaking the nails. Okay, before we are doing the nail care, we need to soak the nails, okay, to soften it and to soften the cuticles and to clean them. But with patients, those patients with diabetes mellitus, we are not soaking them. Always remember that. Why? Because of risk of over drying the skin and developing breaks in the skin resulting to infection. The patient with diabetes mellitus have a higher risk of having infection or having wound easily. So to prevent this, we are not soaking their legs. Okay, we are not soaking their legs. When providing nail care, the patient remains in bed or sits in a chair. In some settings or with specific patients, such as person with diabetes mellitus, you need a healthcare provider's order to trim toenails, especially those patients with diabetes. And those patients with diabetes mellitus, we are cutting their nails only in a straight manner. Also in, sorry, normal patients and especially diabetes mellitus patients, we are cutting their nails in straight manner. We are not having putting curve or whatsoever, but we are cutting only in a straight way. Okay? To prevent what? To prevent injury of the cuticles, or what do you mean? The side of the fingers. So we are using all of these supplies in our nail and foot care. So let's go back. So we finish the nail care. Next, after we finish the nail care, we will clean the chest and the abdomen. Okay? We will clean the chest and abdomen. So in cleaning the chest and abdomen, cleaning the chest, okay, don't forget to clean the, especially if your patient is a female, don't forget to clean the what? Under the breast. Okay, if your patient is having a large breast, what you will do is to elevate it and you clean under the breast. Okay, what will happen if you will not clean it? There's some I don't know, microorganism that can hide on that place. So to prevent that, we need to clean on that space or that area also. After the chest, let's go down and let's clean the abdomen. Don't forget to clean the umbilicus or the belly button. Okay, belly button, it is a hole. So you will notice that there are soap whatsoever inside, smell in this belly button. So you need to clean it. Next, let's go down. Let's go to the legs. Okay, legs. Like the arms, you need to clean the legs from distal to proximal. To stimulate blood flow, you need to start from the far to near. Far to near. From distal to proximal. Like arms also, you need to cut it into three. Foot to knee. Okay, you need to cut it foot to knee to thigh, and then thigh to groin. Thigh to groin. Okay, so after that, you can do foot care. Okay, foot care, I discussed it with the nail care already. After that, you position your patient into lateral position and you start to clean the back and the buttocks. Okay, so you need to clean the back and the buttocks, wash, rinse, and dry. And then the buttocks, wash, rinse, and dry. So after that, you can give back care. Okay, after that, you can give back care. Okay, in doing back care, guys, okay, I'll show you. Okay, back care. So what are the purposes of back care or back massage? Okay, first, of course, relaxation. It will enhance relaxation. It will reduce muscle tension and it will stimulate circulation. But guys, not all patients can receive back care or back massage. Okay, those patients with vertebral fractures cannot receive back massage. Rib fractures, burns, open wounds, bleeding, and heart attack. Why do you think heart attack patients or patients have with heart attack can't receive back care or back massage? What is the rationale? The rationale is because doing so will dislodge the clot inside the heart and it will travel to the different parts of the body, like the brain, like the liver, like the lungs, and it will be more life threatening. Okay, we have different types of back care or back massage. We have the effleurage, we have the petrissage, the tapotement, and the deep friction massage. if we're talking about effleurage, we are using the palm, okay, with a gliding movement of the hands, okay, we are using the effleurage, okay. Soft tissue is compressed between the hands or fingers and tub, we are using the petrissage. Petrissage, we are using the thumb and this part, okay. And tapotement is like a tapping or blows, compressive blows. And the friction rub, okay, we are using our thumb. Shearing stresses are created at tissue interfaces below the skin. Okay, deep friction, that's why it is more deep than the other type of massage. So these are back care. So these are the bed bath sequence, and we should follow them in our demonstration. So shaving, back care, and nail care and foot care, it is all incorporated in a bed bath procedure. So the bed bath procedure is a very long demonstration. So as I've told you, we need to maximize our time. Other types of bath is partial bath. Okay, if your patient uh bath involves bathing only of face, hands, and axilla, back, buttocks, and perineal. It's only partial bath, not entire body is being washed. Tub bath, if we are uh, what's this? Washing our patient in a tub. Okay, we are using the tub bath technique. So, our relaxing can make a person feel, but it is relaxing for the patient because because it's like a real shower you are giving to our patient. But the downside is the patient will feel faint, weak, or tired. Okay, especially if your patient is lying for a long time and then suddenly you brought the patient in the shower room. So what will happen? The patient will feel faint, weak, or maybe the patient will feel orthostatic hypotension. These are the great risk for person who were on bed rest. Okay, great risk. Last no longer than 20 minutes. Okay, shower. Equipments used to get in shower room, you need to have shower chair, shower stalls, and cabinet shower trolleys. Okay, this is called the, on the left side, this is the commode chair that you can see, or the shower chair. Okay, you can use them. So if your patient is unsteady and weak, you can use them in giving shower to your patient. Or if your patient is bedridden, you can use this shower trolley. Okay, wherein you can give bath, where in the trolley will not get wet. Okay, it's water resistant. Okay, let's go with perineal care. So after the back care, okay, after the back care, you need to place the patient again into supine position and do the perineal care. So in perineal care, we'll be doing the female and male patient. Okay, the purposes of perineal care is it will prevent the infection, it will prevent skin breakdown and odor. Okay, these are the supplies we need in perineal care. Okay, before that, we need to be familiarized with the anatomy of the female and male perineum. Okay, in female, okay, we need to be familiar with the openings. Okay, in the female, there are one, two, three, four openings. Okay, you have the clitoris here. You have the urethra, where the urine will is coming out, vagina, where your menstruation is coming out, and the birth canal, and the anus, where your feces is coming out. Okay, so these are the openings and our perineal area. Okay, this is for female. In our male patient, this is the penis. Okay, this is the penis. This is the urethra. Okay, there is opening here, which is called the urethra. This is the glans penis. The head of the penis is called the glans penis. And this is the body of the penis, which is called the shaft. And the scrotum. This is the scrotum or the balls. Okay, so you need to familiarize yourself in the parts of the perineum. Guys, we'll be doing also catheter care for those patients with catheter. Okay, what are the things we need to do? Providing proper catheter care helps to prevent the person from getting UTI or urinary tract infection. You need to clean also the Foley catheter of the patient so the patient will not get infection or UTI. So, first, catheter care. The nurse may delegate catheter care to you, nursing assistant. Okay, if so, you need this information from the nurse and the care plan. When to give catheter care? Usually, it is daily, twice a day after bowel movements or when vaginal discharge is present. Usually, it's daily. But PRN also, because most of the time, the patient will have poops. Okay, it will get, what's this, soiled. So you need to clean it. Okay, the patient, especially the female patient, always they are having vaginal discharge. So you need to clean it also. What is the water temperature to use for perineal care? It's 40.5 degrees Celsius. What is the temperature of the, what is the position of the patient? For female patient, guys, remember, you need to position the patient into dorsal recumbent position. For male patient, you need to position the patient into supine position. Until what length you will clean, okay? Until what length you will clean the catheter, please remember this. 4 inches. 4 inches. Where to secure the catheter, okay? In the female, you need to secure the catheter into the thigh. Okay, why you are securing the catheter? So you will not pull or the patient will not pull it accidentally to prevent the trauma of the uh, bladder. Okay, so for female, you need to secure the catheter into the thigh. For male, you need to secure it into the abdomen or lower part of the abdomen. How to secure the catheter? You tube holder, tape, and the other device. I'll show it. I'll show you how to secure it in our face-to-face demo. How to secure drainage tubing? You need to clip, bed sheet, clamp tape, safety pin with rubber band, and other devices. What are the observations that you can report and you can record? Okay, if your patient is complaining pain, burning, irritation, or need to void, okay, these are signs of urinary tract infection. Crusting, abnormal drainage or secretions. The color, the clarity, and the odor of urine. Okay, the odor is quite strong. The color of the urine is not clear. It's cloudy. You need to report it. Particles in the urine. If there are blood clots, okay, pus, you need to report it. Urine leaking at the insertion site. It means that if the urine is leaking in the insertion site, you need to reinsert it. Okay, you need to reinsert it. Drainage system leaks. Okay, if there's leaking on the tubes or in the urinary bags, you need to change it because maybe it's long time, so you need to change it. So that is catheter care. So why we are studying the anatomy of female and male perineal area? Because in cleaning the perineal area for female, you need to start from cleanest to dirtiest, okay? So you need to wipe from labia majora. I forgot to tell you. So this part, guys, the cheeks of your perineum, this is labia majora. And this labia majora, sorry, and then this is your labia minora. Okay, so in cleaning it, you first wipe, wash, rinse, and dry to labia majora, next to labia minora, next clitoris, one stroke from clitoris down to urethra, vagina, and anus. Okay, from cleanest to dirtiest. I'll repeat, labia majora, labia minora, from clitoris down to urethra, down to vagina, down to anus. One stroke only. For male, first you need to clean in circular motion the urethra down to glans penis, then to the shaft, then to the balls, and then under the balls. Okay, please hold the balls gently because these are the location of your testicles. Okay, next, changing garments. Okay, undressing and dressing the person. We need to remove the gown of the patient. We need to remove the gown of the patient. Why? It is soiled already. So we need to change it. So how we will change it? So always remember undressing unaffected, undressing unaffected, and vice versa. Okay, what do you mean by that? The unaffected are those part who is not having IV, fracture, not stroke, no weakness, no paralysis. Okay? This is used first when undressing. Okay? When you're removing the gown or undressing it, you need to remove first on the unaffected part. I'll repeat. You need to remove first on the unaffected part or on the good side. Then the bad side or the unaffected part. When you're dressing the patient or when you're putting again the gown, okay, you it's vice versa. So undressing unaffected, next dressing. So you need to put first the bad side or the one with the IV, the one with fracture, the one with weakness, the one with paralysis. So you need to put first the affected or the bad side, then the good side or the affected. So always remember undressing, unaffected, then vice versa. So this is our discussion in hygiene. So any questions that you are having, you can ask in our WhatsApp group.